Hello, Vanakkam, and welcome to Sudarshan's podcast. I'm Sudarshan, the host. Today I have Amrapali Shetty. I would call her Polly. Easy. That will be very easy for me to call her. It was really hard for me to pronounce Amrapali. Hey, Polly, welcome to the show.
Hi, Sir Sudarshan. Thank you so much for having me.
Yep, I didn't introduce completely. Polly heads marketing team at Yellow.ai, which is a conversational AI customer service platform in a nutshell. I don't want to go a little deep on that. Go check Hello's website. Yep, that would do a better job than me. Yep, Polly. So, how are you, Polly?
Doing great, Sudarshan. It's been an interesting couple of weeks. We've launched something new recently. So, we've been doing one major launch every quarter now, and how things are with all marketing teams. We are shrinking in size, but the amount of work that we have to do has increased. So, very exciting times, not a dull day. And I'm going by how things are at your end at hockey also. I feel that you guys are also going by the same momentum.
Yep, super fast. So, like you said, things are moving very fast. And one of the things you told me before the chat was that content kind of become infinite and super fast. And that is one of the things I even discussed on the previous episode. Blogs are dying. I think I read this somewhere, around 70% of the blog content out there is AI generated. In that case, how a company that does content are standing out? Yep. Who are the companies you look up to when it comes to content?
I think in the B2B space, I think one of the things that I've been seeing a lot in the companies that are doing it really well are thinking of content in different formats, right? It's no longer just having the right kind of content on your website or on your LinkedIn channel. It's being everywhere with the right kind of format. You might be saying that one same thing, but saying it in different formats, the different channels where your ICPs are spending most of their time, because content, like I said, has become infinite. It's easy to produce, everyone can produce it at scale very fast. But at the same time, our audiences are going through an avalanche of that content, right? And nobody has the time, and it's not humanly possible for anyone to consume that kind of content. So you're kind of fighting for being the worthy ones to get that click, right? Am I seeming worthy enough to get that click? Am I seeming worthy enough to get that 30 second of their time where they'll at least read it today and next week and next week? If they read me 3 times, maybe they'll remember me when the
Yeah.
time comes, right? And to do that, I think in the world of AI, and we are all in the AI business here, I think
I
we
think I'll
really
have to
need.
count number of AIs we said in the end of the episode.
I take a shot when someone says AI, right? But um, the thing becomes that how I'm not saying we don't use AI to generate any of that or use AI for creating any of the content pieces. I'm saying um, to make it worth it, what are the channels that we're using? And I think some of the companies that are doing it really well are where they're using their community of people within the company and outside to making 10x of brand champions, not just their profiles, not just their
Lovable does
web,
that really well, right?
really well. I
Yeah.
love that. Clay has been doing a really great job. It doesn't even matter the size of your company really. And some of the companies that I've been following are very small, they're still early in their career, but absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And I bought, probably we used Storylane before I even saw their content game, because someone recommended it. All the time I've been following them because they've been, as a marketer, I feel like they're doing a great job and I follow them. So I feel like fighting not for that impression, in my opinion, doesn't mean anything in today's world. You can have millions of impressions, nobody remembers you post that 0.5 seconds attention. Being worthy, like I was saying, being worthy of that click, of that intentional click, of giving me 10, 20 to 30 seconds of your time. And then if I resonate, maybe they'll read. a longer piece or view that longer side of the podcast or whatever, I think that's something that is important, and it doesn't matter if it's AI generated. It's how thoughtfully you have worked with AI to create it. What is the value it's giving? Of course, I mean, all of that is cliched, everyone's saying it, but how many of us are doing it right is the question.
Yeah. Why aren't we doing it?
Why are we adding to the noise?
Yeah.
Because I feel marketing is the most visible side, like a very visible function, right? It is a function that everyone sees and everyone feels like they can do it, and why aren't we doing enough, as opposed to, let's say, sales or engineering or any other function of your competitor, right? You don't really see them on the daily. What is the sales team in that company doing?
Yeah.
But with respect to marketing, you see so much of it. These guys are doing this, these guys must be doing something right, why aren't we doing it? So it's a very visible function, and there is a need for it to seem busy. Everyone has certain vanity KPIs to look for, show on their dashboards and all of that. One reason is that, that a lot of marketing teams need to show that they are doing enough is one reason. And second, all of us are experimenting. I think that's one of the
Yeah.
more important and deeper
True.
reasons. All of us are experimenting because the space has changed so much in the last 1 year that no one knows what is the right thing to do anymore. So all of us are experimenting so much. We are trying 10 different A/B tests, 5 different experiment at any given point in time. So, of course, the volume is a thing that you can now play with, and, you segment things out and you play it out. I think these two, in my opinion, are the two main factors behind this. And when you think about it, we are creating the problem we are trying to solve. But I also honestly feel like there's no other way than this right now. Why shouldn't I try this and see what works, what doesn't, right? Because for me to learn from someone else's experiments, it's going to take me 2 quarters, right? So, yeah. That's, I think it's the need of the hour, but also in the mid to long term, I feel like it's a problem that we're going to have to really address as marketers.
Got it. Got it. Yep. Yep. We are adding more to the stock, but fine. We'll do it until we figure that out, right? Yep. So for listeners, I used to send out a questionnaire to all my guests to understand more about them, their strengths, their likings, what they wanted to talk. And when I sent a similar set of, a questionnaire to Polly, one of the very interesting responses there was thought leadership can't be done with a marketing. Thought leadership can't be done with a marketing intern with cloud subscription. That was like, I mean, a real thing, right? I faced this. I've seen people facing this. Then why it is happening, Polly? Executives aren't spending their time, or where it is going wrong. What can be done to fix it?
I think one reason is earlier, not every brand needed to have a face or a, exec who needed to have that very public, whatever, personal brand per se. But now, as over the years, it has become important that, every brand has that strong set of people behind that brand driving the brand from outside, right? As in outside of what just the brand thing is doing. That plus what kind of content is resonating with people, like we have already discussed, none of the how to things that we put as our top of the funnel, we used to put as our top of the funnel content work anymore. So how do we get more people to engage with the brand and thought leadership as a piece of content? Because everyone, even these execs, they also go and engage with that kind of content on their personal time, right? So how do we flip the equation and get our audiences to engage with our brand at that level is the thought, right? That's why thought leadership has become such a sought after kind of format for all marketing teams. And unfortunately, the in that process, the definition of thought leadership content has diluted a lot, right? What in any meeting qualifies as a thought leadership piece has been diluted a lot, right?
Yeah.
It's just something that sounds deep, or sounds like it's been written well, but when you actually think about it, it's not generating any kind of discourse, right? When you think about real thought leadership pieces, they are not written or created for just getting likes on a post, right? They are created to share some real insights with an intention to drive discourse, like people to think about it, debate me, agree with me, debate me, fight me, or any strong kind of emotions to get into that. Was the original way of thinking about how to create a thought leadership piece, which is not happening now. I'm sure a lot of these execs who are on the daily, they're having very interesting conversations with customers, prospects, influencers in the space, investors, and a lot of interesting other cross-functional people. And n- the insights from those interesting moments are not trickling into the marketing team, right? For whatever reasons. So when marketing team is told, okay, why aren't we doing more thought leadership? What do? We pick the best writer in the team, writer or someone who can think, who's the best person to think a little creatively, and then we give them a subscription and be like, okay, Claude writes well, why don't you go? But that person doesn't have the context that these execs have from their own personal lived experiences, right? They can only go so much because they lack the depth of understanding of those things. And it's not a judgment on the writer, it's just the system of information is a bit lacking, right? That is one reason. And the other thing is that a lot of companies you would have seen are hiring for exec content and exec, all of that. They reside, like, they operate at very close proximity to these execs and how their mind works, almost like they have access to their secondary brain, right? That's how they're able to create real thought leadership thing, which doesn't happen on most companies. I think that's the gap that we need to fill, whether it's for the reason that people don't want to spend so much on a resource like this, or they don't really have the time to give them a digital piece to marketing, because so I think all of this combined creates this problem where just a regular blog that sounds smart becomes termed as a thought leadership piece, again adding to the noise that we were talking about earlier.
Right. Is it really needed, first of all? Because you can create demand across, you can build your trust across, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, record a bunch of customer testimonials,
Mm-hmm.
get hundreds of G2 reviews. I mean, if you have some 20, 30 customers, it is doable. If you spend maybe another K USD on top of that, you can get some 100 G2 reviews, right? And why do people think, I mean, why are they joining the herd of they want to become a thought leader, but don't want to have opinions on things, don't want to narrow down on things? And once someone narrow downs, they feel that, I mean, once they say yes to something, they feel that they're saying no to other things. That is not a thing, right? I mean, they can say partially yes to other things also.
Right, right.
Um,
I
I
think the
mean,
problem
what's
is,
the
yeah,
gap here? I mean, I'm seeing across. I have seen,
yeah,
spoke to a lot of people about this.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I think the problem is that we like to be vanilla as people without opinions, strong opinions, because having opinions means, of course, alienating certain part of it. You cannot make everyone happy. Like, I think even on a cat video on Instagram, there'll be one hater, right? So as soon as you put yourself out on the internet or in the world wide web, you're gonna get some haters. And I think that's the risk that people don't want to take in. And in that process, they either write something and either put out something very safe and forgettable because everyone else is doing it. There's peer pressure, right? Everyone else is doing, oh my god, you what are you even doing? What is your marketing even doing if you're not doing that? Also, if also the nature of the products that they work with, or the whatever their companies are doing, if it's broad enough, you don't also want to feel like you're going to be alienating this segment versus this segment, all of that. There's a need for them to seem like, I feel, we're innovating, so you need to trust my voice. But what is that voice is also important. You cannot have a very safe voice in all conversations and then build that trust, right? Because you need to have a point. You can't sit on the
Yep.
fence on everything and then
Yeah.
be seen like a trusted source of information, right? And another thing I feel like is also, if you have investors, there's a push from there also. I think that's also the one logistics that you have to think about, where
Yeah, I mean that is, yeah. I mean, once you can't really talk about numbers, but there are n number of things you can talk. That is something I feel. Yep, yep. So I mean, who are the few thought leaders you look up to? I mean, I do know few influences, but anyone from companies doing it, I couldn't get names quickly. Is there anyone from X companies doing great thoroughly? Varun from Clay,
Played
I would
as
say.
well. Elena
Yeah,
from Lovable does really well. Tim Swallow from H Restless and Ryan also
yeah,
do really well.
yeah.
But to be honest, I spend more time reading outside of my work than you would expect that I must be seeing all the podcasts or must be But I like to switch off and read things outside of the marketing sphere when I have
Interesting,
the time.
interesting.
And that kind of keeps me a little balanced and not like in this bubble of whatever we're doing on a day to day. Builds, I honestly feel like it builds new neural pathways when you think about something completely different today and something completely different in the next morning. So, yeah, I'm not the right person to go for a recommendation list here.
Cool, cool. Right, right. So, yep. So, one of the things you told me is attribution. About attribution is attribution isn't the top five things when you do marketing in a startup. If attribution is not in the top five list, what are those other five top things we should be looking?
I think we've already discussed a lot of them, right? One challenge that in today's time I would really recommend when anyone is building marketing as a function is how you're hiring and how you are building that this thing. I know AI is going to be a big piece of your team and
In hiring
whatever.
also.
Of course, I mean you're going to be thinking, okay, this work is going to be done by AI, and then these people are going to be doing ABC and all of that. But I really recommend that fixing the people problem is how you think about who you're hiring. I like to hire, let's say, whether it's a designer or a writer or a product marketer, whoever, in your team. I like to hire people who don't want to be just that one thing. And that really helps build a very solid team because you want people in today's time and going forward, I think at least in the next decade, it's going to be like everyone needs to be an end-to-end kind of a thinker and not like you need to be, of course, everyone will have, like, for me it was always like, I like to think and write and all of that, but that is my core skill set, but I've built the rest of it because I was curious about everything else, right? So that's the thing you want to do when you hire for your team. You get a designer who's passionate about design but also is not like, they're going to be checked out when you talk about other things in marketing.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah.
want those kind of people, right? So that's going to help, especially in a space like a startup where you don't have a lot of wriggle room to do to hire tens of people in your team. So that people problem is one.
First
Of
thing
course,
hiring. Okay.
stack is one. You're going to be bombarded with 1,000 stacks, and you're going to be talking to millions of vendors and all of that. That piece, the sooner you figure out, the easier it's going to be because you're going to
What are
just
the
be.
basics then? I mean, I'm
Yeah.
starting up. I'm setting my marketing function for the next 6 months or a year. What are those three, four tools I should onboard on? And
Yeah, just try
then
out. Yeah, exactly. So you get the intelligence piece right. You get where are you getting your intelligence? How you going to be? Because, like I said, Mark, if attribution is not a thing that I want to spend my time on, but there are tools in your stack which are going to eventually give you a retrospective view of what the journey has been like. So that's why I don't have to worry about whether this person directly came to my landing page and converted or not, right? So get the intelligence piece right, end to end, as in how are they discovering you. Are we getting a view of who that is, and all of that piece. There are few tools to look at when you think about it. Intelligence from your on your website, other social channels, and then how all of that is tying into your CRM, and what kind of tools are you using for your all of that content asset marketing, asset generation. How is that the analytics piece, if these tools are not giving you enough proper analytics, how do you figure that piece out? Because showing the value upstream is going to be super important,
yeah,
right? You don't
yeah,
want a marketing dashboard, you want a dashboard which shows the value of marketing on the business. So marketing dashboard internally it's fine, but you can't show that to like the execs, and they're not going to care, right? So you need like a solid analytics piece. So you figure that piece out, a few this thing, and the channels, of course, which are the channels. That is going to again be a little bit of
yeah.
experimentation here and
Experiment.
there. Yeah. So these are few things. You don't need 20 data sources to come in. It, a lot of over spending on credits happen and budget happens because you're like, oh, can I trust this data source? Eventually all of these data sources are one and the same, and then you just have to figure out what is working for your segment, what is working for your particular use case. So, and then there's going to be this automation piece, right? You're building workflows, which is the platform that you're using to connect your data and create that. So think about your stack and segment it and just pilot two each and then just get in with it,
Okay.
spending so much time and energy and budget on at least 30 distinct tools in a very small startup marketing function, I think is a waste of energy more than budget, because you're going to have to babysit all of this and then again have to justify why did I spend so much without getting so much out of it.
Got it. Okay. People, tools. Third one, pick the right channels and do experiments to get there. What are the other two? Yeah.
And then, so setting the expectations right is super important, right? Because then you come in, you're doing marketing, will do ABC, all of that. But setting the right expectations that, okay, if I have this much budget, or if I have that many people, or if I have whatever, you list out your constraints, and then you list out the expectations out of you. And then setting the expectations, you cannot be a yes, ma'am, yes, man all the time. It's
True.
it's hurting you and the your entire team more than you realize. You have to be really realistic with what can be achieved with what, and then what do we reprioritize over a period of time. That is super super important, and I think you should do it not at number 4, you should do it at number 1 or 2.
No, I couldn't put a order to this.
Yeah,
To set the expectation or pick the channel, because according to channel you find the
yeah,
person.
exactly.
According to the, I
That will
mean, channel,
vary.
you find the tools.
That will vary depending on how where you are placed and which kind of situation you are in. But yeah, that piece. And the fifth thing is to focus on how marketing is working with all other functions. That really will break. Or it's said a lot but not, I don't always see that happening. I've spoken to so many people, it doesn't always happen. So that piece, if you're able to really bridge that, make bridges with sales, with all
Got
other
it.
functions, it
Service.
really helps, especially in a startup situation where everything is so messy, everyone's doing everything, easy to get things done and suddenly blame. You don't want that kind of a relationship. So those are the 5 things I think immediate attention is needed in that, rather than figuring out, okay, I spent so much on this, realize.
I mean, the way you put things, right? Kind of. I mean, your response is more like, you're not giving it an answer. You're giving. I mean, finishing it with the emotion. For the last three responses, I'm getting that. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. One interesting thing I saw from your responses. Demand triangle. I think, can you double click on that? I think listeners will really like.
Yeah, so I don't think it's something new. I just like to do this, and I named it because I like naming random things. So every now and then, over the years, not just at Yellow, over the years, whenever we have worked on any project, like auditing whatever we are doing and then figuring out 3 things, right? Where are we putting our efforts? And it's like a triangle. So on one end, it is, are we doing enough to create demand? So even when I was just a content marketer or a brand marketer, that would also be, all of the pieces I would create would cover all of these 3 angles, right? One is that, are we creating demand, as in people who are not aware of the problem that they're having,
Problem.
and that
Yeah.
they've not articulated that problem yet. They have the problem, but they've not articulated it. So are we creating demand, educating, all of that, then are we doing enough for that? Second piece, are we doing enough to capture the demand, as in people who are aware that they have this problem and are now figuring out what to do about it? Are we capturing that demand? Are we getting our brand in front of those people? And then the third piece is, are we building trust? So people who have done all of that and now they're shortlisting, and they're kind of towards the end of the pipeline. Are we doing enough to build trust with them so that we are the ones, we don't give them reasons to disqualify us, right? So usually what happens is, it's very simple, and everyone, in my opinion, everyone's doing it and everyone's even I feel like, okay, we're doing enough for everything. But depending on the composition of the team and what is their core skill set, or historically in their team, what has worked, usually you will see that they're doing more in one direction and very
Yeah.
almost negligible in the other,
Yeah.
right? If the team is heavy on, they have historical data to show that, oh, this doesn't work, that doesn't work, only paid works because it's a directly attributed thing, and ads run, just run ads and you get leads. They will be doing just that piece where they're building trust through customer marketing, or whatever, and the rest of the piece is not. It does work to an extent, but eventually it'll run dry, right? You'll not have a larger pool to pull people from. And if there are like more of brand side of people, who've only done brand, they'll only to the top of the funnel, or they'll try to kind of create demand, build demand, rather than capturing the rest, because they are not in touch with the customers, or maybe the people who are already in the very close to buying the product, right? So as you grow, the team, or how you're building the budget, we audit and see if we are doing too much in this or too less in this, and what do we need to do in terms of effort to make sure that we are doing enough in all. If effort doesn't always mean that we need to put more budget into something, so we also budget accordingly. We put budget our time and
Money.
plan our time and budget both, depending
Hmm.
on where the triangle is a little bit skewed and where it needs more listing. So that's the framework that I usually like to follow.
Interesting. So, I mean, when talking about three things, right? Creating demand, generating demand is more of a content marketer work.
Hmm.
Capturing demand is more of growth marketer, BDR type work. And making them people trust us is more about product marketing, sales enablement, customer marketing work, right? So, when you, and also for a early stage company, for a company like, so we focus more on capturing the demand because that's what keep the business going. For a company that scaled or gone over Series B, they focus a bit more on creating demand. And also, if the category is very new, and then
Yeah,
you have to
you
spend
need
more
to.
time on
Absolutely.
creating the
Absolutely.
demand.
Absolutely. Interestingly, even for a company which is like late stage, and they've got tons and thousands of customers today and logos to boast of, they're not safe anymore. They can't ignore the other two, because there's competition is like random competition is coming up, sprouting from all directions, and they don't always have the moat, right? So I think, one, given that everything is compressing into marketing is compressed into one big that core of the earth, is what I feel like how marketing is working right now. It's all compressed into one thing. You
Okay.
can't be one thing or the other anymore. It doesn't matter if you're a startup. I mean, of course, you'll play a little bit because I have more dollars, so I'll do this, or I have more custom logos, I'll do this. But I honestly feel like even the biggest of the companies today cannot just do one thing, because they have, like, I have so many customers, so I'll just go play on that, because new players are breaking uh, the value that these guys are bringing every other day. They are coming up faster, upper, often at a more reasonable pricing. Just having that bank of logos, I don't think is the strength that
Right.
you can.
Right. A lot of new categories added in last one,
Yeah,
2 years, right?
yeah, absolutely.
But I still feel, Polly, that I mean, you can't be a generalist marketer, right? I mean, you can be, but I mean, you need to own a few of your outcomes. Are you
Absolutely.
writing content? What about the website visitors? What about visitors for these particular articles? What about the new backlinks we got in? So something more of SEO side of this guy owns the outcome from that particular from his work. And performance marketer who runs the ad, he maybe have a spot of designers who will design the creatives for them and get it shipped. And he or she needs to own the outcome for that, right? And if they're doing two, three things or like more than that, how do you think they can they can really own their outcomes? I think there are still few sub functions in marketing. They can't be a generalist. What do you think? Am I right or
You cannot see, one thing is, you cannot only have a team of generalists for sure, but you cannot only have a specialist. Like, you cannot have only an SEO guy owning, because his goal then only becomes getting more clicks. I mean, whatever it is in today's world that is relevant, clicks are not income, traffic
Yeah,
less,
true.
it's becoming more traffic less today. But let's say discoverability, right? They are owning discoverability, all this thing. But if you are only a specialist, right, you're not thinking about because companies are pivoting very fast in terms of their roadmap, right? The positioning suddenly changes. SEO guy will be like, oh, I need 1 quarter to move this, that, and then, oftentimes what happens, it's not intentional, but it oftentimes it happens that marketing is brought into the whole product roadmap very late, right? And that doesn't give them these, let's say we're just taking an example of SEO, these guys a lot of time to plan ahead, go get all of that done and build that, so the reason why I say this, especially with teams where you're starting on brands, where you're starting up, having a generalist gives you a better this thing to think that anyone who can think end to end is important.
Very true.
And where you feel like you're lacking that skill set, maybe you can have someone hire an agency for a period of learning, where you're getting deep into the project, you're understanding whatever. Now you can also build agents to help you do a lot of the heavy lifting, and then on and off, you on demand, you kind of engage with them. But I would say you cannot, like I said, you cannot only have generalists, especially generalists with only 1-2 years of marketing experience will not have the depth of understanding of nuances of things that are needed, right? For sure, the team needs judgment more than anything, and that only comes from folks who have really worked in depth in any function, right? So in house, it's what I prefer. If the mandate is that you need to have a small team, which I think is true for most companies, right? If that is the constraint, if you don't have constraints, amazing, you're living in marketing heaven. You can go hire as many people as you want. But if you're not, and this thing is keep it as lean as possible, I would hire more end-to-end thinkers. I'm not just saying generalists, but someone will be, let's say you were saying you work as a designer earlier, and now you're in demand gen, right? But you have that flexibility of thinking, right? That's what I'm saying. That's what I mean when I say generalist. Like, I want someone who is, who has that temperament of thinking end to end. That's when you have transfer, you all, every one of us has transferable skills and transferable thought process, so that really helps this thing. And to get very specific SMEs for very specific projects, you get consultants or agencies in have a very deep kind of learning curve within your team, and these generalists will usually pick up those things and then over time evolve. So that's my understanding of how I think
Interesting.
things really work given the constraint of the market in smaller organizations.
Yeah, yeah. So one of the, I mean, thought leader, can I say that? So I
Yeah.
mean, I'm a big fan of Emily Kramer.
Mm-hmm.
She has MKT one newsletter is one of my very favorite newsletters. So she recently wrote about 100 top B2B AI slash SaaS companies, and the common marketing team size across them is 5% of the whole team. 100 people there, even not even 4% if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
And she used to fight for 5% in whatever the company she worked so far. So yeah, 4% is the average rate she have seen across. So for 100 people, member company, 4 people. I know. I mean, I think things are changing, right? When engineers are shipping fast, how can 4 people company can talk about what they ship?
Exactly.
I think
Exactly.
companies have to rethink. Maybe I don't know. What do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the challenge that I was talking about, right? Like, it's not like I have anything against specialists, right? It is just that as a marketing leader, I have to I only can get that many people, or I can only get that many resources. And if I know that there are going to be hundreds of projects, so if I get a specialist, they're going to be stuck in that role. So if I get a generalist, I know I can move them around and, get something done when the need is. As I think almost all marketing leaders are facing the same kind of problem, that, you have too much to do with too little people, and too many AI agents that are evolving, but not there yet to give you the kind of output that you need, right? Definitely some thought, like we started the conversation with this, that definitely some recalibration is needed in terms of
Yeah,
how you think
everything
about
marketing.
people versus AI
Yeah.
in the mix, right? In your resource pool.
So, I mean, one thing I could see from the beginning is you're bashing the status quo. So, I mean, if you get a chance, what you will, unbuild when it comes to B2B marketing? MQLs, attribution dashboards, what else I would say? Gated content. What do you think? What you will unbuild?
I don't really have.
Feel free to think. I'll just remove all the passes. No worries.
I think you can skip that. I don't really have. I have not given it a thought, so I can, maybe if you have any other question, you can.
So, I mean, one of the things like I mentioned early, I really liked your response for my questions. There was a taste in that writing, and you start as a writer, you start as a content person, then you slowly move to a proper business marketer. I just want to know a little more on your reading and writing side of things, Polly. So, what are you reading currently? What are your favorites so far?
I don't read. Uh, it's again my beige flag that I don't read self-help books. I don't read management books at all. I cannot. That and romance are two genres that I
Bullshit. Don't do
cannot.
that. Don't read. I didn't say a romance book, but yeah, self help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These two are the genres that I've not been able to, given I've been avid reader of everything else. I cannot finish a book. I've never been able to finish these books. Anything to do with sci-fi, it can be anything, historical fiction, thrillers, dark humor, anything you give me, I will sit and read. Even if it's a boring non-fiction, I will finish it. But these are the few genres that have not been able to finish in my life so far. When it comes to, like I was saying, I like to randomly pick up things without reading too much about how it is been perceived by the audiences. Like, let's say there are a lot of reviews, and I go into things blind. I don't read a lot of reviews before I pick something up, and I'm not afraid to leave something unfinished, uh, especially given how busy we all are. Few things that really, like, and I think that really helps me write also, because one day I'm reading a nonfiction, one day I'm reading a historical fiction based in Cuba, one day I'm reading something, a sci-fi thriller in a
Right.
universe that is like 15 million light years away. So because I'm always jumping between genres, I think it helps me kind of not get stuck to one kind of thinking. And that has also helped me in work, because then we need to move between a lot of things at work as well, right? You're thinking about, oh, I need to build the pipeline, and I need to create the campaigns and all of that. And tomorrow, you're thinking about, but we have a data problem. How do we solve that? And so switching between tasks, and how your mind works in these kind of environments. I think reading extensively and very variedly has really helped me. And anyone who is trying to retain their critical thinking in today's time, where all of us are kind of giving it into AI and stopping to think because we don't really have the time, I would really recommend it. If you are thinking about preserving your thought process and how you think, reading very variedly really helps.
Yeah.
One more thing I would really recommend is picking up any kind of musical instrument.
Okay.
I recently picked up, this year I picked up learning how to play the drums, just because it helps you build cognitive, this thing, because you're kind of using all your limbs in different beats and all of that. You're learning that
Okay.
new skill set. So anything that you enjoy outside of work also helps you become better at work, I feel. So switch off sometime and think about other things in life. It really helps you become better at, when you log in on a Monday.
Do you have any particular time or any particular allotted time for doing all such things, or it's random?
Not really, thankfully. So far, in the last at least several years, I've had the blessing, I would say, of being able to work remotely. So I had more time to manage my time whenever I need to get busy, and when I could just, if I'm feeling overwhelmed, I could just take a break and do something else. So it just varies from day to day, but it's there's no fixed time per se, but it depends on if I'm feeling too much, I need to shut down and do something else and then get back. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Okay, and like I said, I regretted a lot that I didn't spend time learning to write, right? So, I mean, what I should be doing in the next 6 months or a year to write better, learn to write better,
Read
read.
genres, read genres that you wouldn't like people who write or think very differently than you, read their work. Like, I how do it is I go and pick a very random country and pick an author from there and just read their work, because how we think as Indians is very different from how somebody in a Nordic country is thinking about a very similar problem in their life, and that reflects in their writing. So read it can just be like one chapter a day or whatever, it doesn't matter. You don't have to commit to finishing a large book or anything like that. Read and then think about, what is it that I took away from that one chapter, one small idea it would have sparked. Can I connect it to a song that I like? Can I connect it to a conversation I had with my friend? Can I connect it to a meme that I've seen? Connect it to different things that you're already doing in your life and write about whatever. It doesn't have to be great polished language or anything like that. Just write about what you're thinking, and that's something that I do with my kids.
Hmm.
And it helps because they're already involved in this YouTube video that they've seen, that this game that they're playing. And when they've read this new chapter, is there a common thread that they can find? And that really
Yeah,
helps you build how you think about filling up a page. Eventually,
right.
you become natural at it.
Interesting. So, read something out of your interests, maybe.
Yeah, something that
That
you would
that is
not
something very hard,
naturally.
right? I mean, I've read some. I mean, COVID time got good enough time. I easily read somewhere around 70, 80 books, but most of them initially around that 10, 15 were like very self-help books.
Mm,
After that, okay, this is something I don't want to read.
mm.
Then picked up politics. Then picked up bit of economics and a bit of philosophy in between. Then went on to spiritual side of things, but never picked up anything that is out of my interest. I like
If you're
something,
not
then
if you're not able to do that, even that's fine as well, as long as you and that doesn't become a pattern. My thing is not, I'm not telling you to not do things that you like. I'm telling you to also add in things that you wouldn't usually pick up. You don't know if you like it or not. So just bringing that and then creating that, I call it like a web of a thought. Just bring that one point and connect it to five different things that you're already thinking about. That helps you create narrative. Storytelling gets better, and you don't always have to believe in what you're writing. You think of it as an exercise in storytelling. Okay, I have, because as marketers, we also, anything that you give us, we need to be able to tell a story around it and build on it, right? So that really helps, that narrative part and all of that.
got it. Interesting. Yeah, we'll work on it. We'll work on it. Should definitely work on it. Yes. So yep, we'll have a quick rapid fire session. I have like 4 questions for you. Name a marketing leader you would take a job under tomorrow.
A job under, will you cut the silence? I don't
Yeah, yeah.
know. No, I don't have an answer. I don't have an answer.
Cool, cool. No worries.
Maybe Tim Solo is from Href. Yeah, I really appreciate how he brings out what he knows, and also his team have seen how his team operates from the, at least the outside, how they are able to create value not just for their product but their personal brand works, and how they think about marketing in general. I think I really really like the way they do that.
Not Ryan.
Ryan Law also, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, within his team, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because I really like Ryan's old writings.
Yeah,
Great stuff.
yeah.
So, what are the 3 companies you'll steal ideas from?
Steal ideas from right now, right away for sure. Clay and Lovable for sure for marketing. And then there are others, I think, outside of B2B, where some of them are doing really great campaigns for in general as a marketer. I think not, but I can in the B2B space for sure, Lovable and Clay are doing something really great.
Awesome. So first hire for a startup, writer or a demand gen person. I want a poly answer more than a business answer.
Maybe hire someone who's become a demand gen person but was a writer, because demand gen
It's
cannot
very
work with.
hard, poly. I mean, it's a very narrow set of people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because usually what will happen realistically is people will hire demand gen, but without them understanding the nuances of how what is the positioning, what is the brand voice, what is the content that I'll be using to create that demand. They can be running 20 campaigns but they'll not resonate. But now the fallacy in thinking is that AI can do that for you. So they'll do a lot of things, they'll burn a lot of dollars, and then eventually that demand person will be blamed
Right.
and fired, and whatever that cycle goes on, because anyone will think, okay, I need a demand person, but just a demand person who has been a performance marketer in the past, I don't think they will be able to crack it unless they understand the nuances of content, or that piece is important.
God. Yes. Interesting. One cliche advice, but that still matters.
You need to be good at numbers even as a marketer. It's hard for many people, but you cannot avoid it.
Your
Just
face is
because
speaking.
yeah, because I had to learn it the hard way. It wasn't something that I was naturally inclined to look at reports and things like that. But for you to get taken seriously at your work and your impact, you need to be really good at numbers and how you read it, how on a day to day you ingest it, and what you make out of it. So you might be the most creative person in the room, but it's not gonna end up showing real value if you're not good at showing it through numbers.
Yeah. So yeah, really amazing chat. Touched a lot of things. But yeah, 100 AIs. We inserted 100 AIs in between. But
Yeah,
yeah, great
for sure.
chatting with you
Lovely
about.
talking to you, session. Best of luck. I hope this podcast becomes big. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye bye.
One minute.